First, I learned of the forced abortion policy in the PRC in China in 1983. In 1984, offered an amendment saying that any organization that supports it should no longer receive U.S. funding. Jack Kemp and Senator Kasten added it to the appropriations bill, and we've had Kemp Kasten ever since. Kemp Kasten says voluntary yes, involuntary no. China is the most brutal example of coercion. I've chaired many hearings with women who had been forcibly aborted, who told their stories, and the degradation, the impact on their bodies, and especially on their minds as the government coerced them to kill their babies. Unwed mothers in China have to abort. I mean, in this country, thankfully, we put our arms around unwed mothers and try to protect them and help them through. All of UNFPA's money that is denied by the U.S. government goes to family planning and maternal health. So it's a one-for-one, dollar for dollar. We do support that. I had a number of hearings on the missing girls, both in China and in India, and I had one woman, an expert, Mira Wiesenstahl, who wrote a book called, and I read it, and I encourage all to read it, Unnatural Selection, Choosing Boys Over Girls, and the Consequences of a World Full of Men. She said, and quote from the book, by August of 1969, when the National Institute of Child Health and Human Development and the Population Council convened another workshop on population control, sex selection had become a pet scheme. She goes on to say sex selection, moreover, had the added advantage of reducing the number of potential mothers. Kill the girl child in the womb, and she'll never be a mother, perhaps in her 20s or 30s, or even before. If reliable sex determination technology could be made available to a mass market, there was a rough consensus that sex selection abortion would be an effective, uncontroversial, and ethical way of reducing the global population. Fewer women, fewer mothers, fewer future children. At the conference, she goes on to say, one abortion zealot, Christopher Tizzi, co-presented sex selection abortion as one of the 12 new strategies representing the future of global birth control. We are missing, and my good friend Ms. Wagner mentioned it in her comments, well over 100 million women who should be here, but for the reason of their gender, the fact that they were a girl child in utero, was killed by abortion. My question is, do any of you support sex selection abortion? Have you seen the impact it has had on India? And in China, it has had an impact on human trafficking. For years, I tried to get the TIP office, the Trafficking Persons Office, to recognize that when women are killed in utero because they're girls, the girl child, that creates a huge space for the human traffickers to fill a void because men can't find women to marry, and that is a huge problem in the People's Republic of China as a direct result of the missing daughters. There's also the suicide issue. China is one of the countries, I think it's the only one, where the rate of suicide among females far outnumbers the rate of men. The coercion clearly has something to do with it. The UNFPA has supported the Chinese program. We have asked them to leave, and yet you know as well as I that they have to comport with all of the China's laws and policies and regulations to do business there. Marie Stopes had to do that when they were there. They probably are still there. I'm not sure of that. But they were denied money under Kemp Kasten. And certainly the UNFPA has to comport with those laws, which makes them part of that coercive machinery. Remember, no unwed mothers, one child, now two child per couple policy. For a long time, all brothers and sisters were illegal. So I would ask you, do you support sex selection abortion? And are you concerned about this huge, we have two girls, two boys in my family, and my wife and I. When we found out it was a baby girl, we celebrated. Couldn't have been happier. It's a girl. That phrase is one of the most dangerous phrases in some parts of the world. And 20 countries, like I said, have these disparities of male to female. On that question, and do you believe that China's program is coercive? Ms. Crocker?